it's Nancy from Papercraft Arts. I have a tutorial that I'm going to show you today. It has to do with these paper clips that you see in front of you. I posted these on a few Facebook groups and Instagram, and I had a few people ask me if I would do a tutorial on them. So, even though I'm not that great at it, I'm gonna try and attempt it. I'm gonna split it up into 3 episodes, so that way the video isn't like an hour long. I myself prefer the shorter videos. So today I'm gonna show you how to make the base, this part, and then on the second episode I'll show you how to make this little banner that goes across this top and the fabric that I put fabric loops. And then on the third episode I'll go through the jewelry part of, you know, with the charms and the chain and the attachments up here. So that's thought we would get started right away with going through some supplies first. So let me put this aside. The supplies for this episode, you'll need like a thick or heavyweight cardstock. I used 100-pound cardstock. You'll need a lightweight cardstock, which is kind of like this. This is some thin tag board I had, about 50 or 60 pounds. Some glue, and I used this Beacon 3-in-1 adhesive, but you're more than welcome to use whatever glue you prefer. Fabri-Tac or Scotch, this Scotch tacky glue, or the art glitter glue, whatever you prefer to use. Some gesso. This I got a few years ago at Walmart. It was inexpensive. It's nothing overly priced or any special brand that I know of. So, and it serves me and what I use it for. So, gesso. A paintbrush. I used one that's I kind of ruined, and this one's about a 1/2 inch wide. So when you use gesso, just make sure you clean your brush or soak it in some water afterwards to get the gesso off of it. Some decorative paper, which I have here. I picked out a few pieces from my scrap bin. And you'll need a paper clip, and it's about 1 3/4 inches long. They're like the jumbo paper clips, not the huge ones, just the next size up from your regular size paper clip. So we'll use one of those. Let me get this better one here. I'm gonna use one of these gold ones. You'll need some ink. I use the distress ink. I use the tea dye. And you'll also need some ink for stamping, and I use the StazOn because it's formulated for, you know, all types of surfaces, and it also doesn't bleed, you know, in case I want to put some more gesso on top of the stamping. So that's what I used. This one's black. And you'll need a punch to make the little corners. You'll need a punch to make these curved corners. These they call it a ticket stub corner. And the one that I use is by We Are Memory Keepers, Crocodile. And this is the corner one. Sorry, where's my, oh, here it is. The stub, this is the stub. It says stub and deco on it. and that's the one I used. But if you don't have that, you can use a circle punch, and I believe this circle is, looks like it's 5/8 of an inch, and I tried it and it does work. I'll show you. And let's see, and any fun mixed media products that you want to use to, you know, enhance the surface of the surface of the base that we're gonna make. Some of the ones that I was playing around with were this this Tim Holtz micro distress glaze. It's like a wax. It's kind of like gives you that beeswax look to things. This metallic by Art Alchemy, which is Prima. And this is a wax too, and it's rose gold. And then I also played around with this new stuff I got called Opal Magic. It's also a wax, and this one's called Vintage Silk. So, and this one has kind of like, I'll show you later as we're working on them, it has kind of a shimmery look to it. And let's see, and that's it for supplies. So, first of all, you will need a square that is 1.5 by 2 1/4. And I cut these ahead of time. This is the thick cardstock, and then you'll also need the same size in the thin cardstock, because you're gonna glue these two pieces together. So that's what you'll need to start off with. Then set your thin cardstock aside for now and choose a paper that you want to cover it with. And I kind of like this pinkish gray music paper, so I'm going to use that on this one. And so you just, I apologize for the glove, but it's doctor's orders. Since I had my surgery on my 2 fingers, I've been having some pain, and he recommended that I wear this glove when I'm doing the kind of work I do, the crafts I do. And it really does help. I highly recommend it for anybody who has arthritis, even though that's not what I have. It has helped a lot with the pain. And this one, you can't get just one glove. You have to buy a set. This one I got on Amazon for 16 bucks. And it's by Dr. Arthritis, I think. I looked at all the reviews, and I even tried another glove and couldn't get it in my size. And so I ended up with this one. The only problem is for little people that have short fingers, all these gloves that are open on the tips are always a little bit too long. I've gotten used to it, but that's one of the problems. And to remedy that, I've been folding them down on the edges like that. Okay, so we glued down our cardstock, and just need to cut around it like that. This is a great project for using up your scraps you might have. Now, the next step is, let's see, you need to punch the corners. So take your thin cardstock and match it up. Make sure it's all matched up. and take your corner punch, and I'll show you in a minute how to use the circle one. This is how the stub works. Just like that. So there you've got your corners cut. If you don't have that one, what I recommend is using this punch and turn it upside down. This is the circle punch. And then you can see what you're doing. Just stick your corner in there, try to get it even, you know. You can eyeball it. I'm not good at that, but here. And then punch. And then use this little piece so you can get these the same size all the way around. Just use this little piece, match it up to the corner, and take a pencil. Maybe put this down like this, it'll be easier. And then draw around it, and that way it gives you a guide as to where to punch your next corner, so it's the same as this one. And I'm almost sure I got that right. But you got the idea, right? It looks like I'm pretty good. So you slide this in, and then you've got your pencil line as a guide. And punch. And then you've got your corners. This one's a little off. But of course it's because I'm doing it on camera. But you got the idea. So if you don't have a crocodile, you can use this circle punch. Alright, so we've got the corners cut and the paper on. And our next thing is to put the paper clip on. And for this one, or this step, you just want to make sure that you're going to put the paper clip on the thin piece of cardstock. The part that, just make sure the part that's showing, that's going to clip to a page, is the part that you want. Some people like the long part. Some people prefer the shorter part. I prefer the long part being on the part that clips onto the page. So I'm gonna put this one, long part, on the outside, and then center it as much as you can in the middle, like that, and turn it over and make sure everything matches up, and then glue it. I use the beacon for this. This looks a little off. It looks crooked on this side, but then it's crooked on that. So I'm gonna make it straight on this side, even if it looks crooked on this side. And take your adhesive and make sure you go around the edge of the paper clip real well with glue, because you want that to stick well. And then go around your corners. And so I don't get volcano overflow here. And then stick that on, and then match them up. And you want to press kind of close to around the edges. Make sure your edges get stuck together well as you're matching them up. I like the beacon because it gives me time to move things around if I have to match everything up. And I think I've got a good match. If there's anything that's like not quite matching, You can trim it off later, or you can cover it up with a little ink. So that looks pretty good to me. Wipe off some of that glue seeping out. You don't want too much glue seeping out the edges, because then your ink doesn't really take to the glue. So make sure your edges are nice and clean. So a little glue on there. Just rub that off. And you want to set that to dry, but since I don't have another one made up, I'm going to use this one before it dries. Alright. As you can see, these are all the ones I've made, but I haven't embellished them yet. Okay, so now is the time when you start inking. I thought I heard something like a kitty cat, but I'm not sure. So you get your ink and you ink around the edge to give it a little color. And then once you get everything, see, this is where the glue got on the card, so the ink's not taken to it too well. And also you want to kind of get those edges where the two cards meet. You want to try to get that colored with the ink as well. So it gives it a much more finished look than if it was just left plain. And that looks pretty good. And if you want to color your paper some more, then move your ink in a little, like that. And the gesso should take care of that. So, there's that. Now you want to take some gesso, and I got some piece of wax paper here so I don't get my board all messed up. And the way I did it was, and I have to give credit to Artie Mays for showing me all the techniques of using gesso. It's just play with it, you know, and that way you get kind of the look that you want. And for these I mostly pounced them. I kind of used, it's almost like a dry brush. I hardly used any gesso at all. I just put some out, spread it out on the wax paper, and then kept pounding away till I got kind of the look I wanted. And if there were some parts that I covered up too much, I'd take a baby wipe and try to get some of it off. A little bit like that. And then that kind of tones it down a little bit. If it's like too thick or too white or covers up the pattern too much. And then I also did this. I took a little bit more gesso and then I went around the edges like this. Give it kind of a little depth on there, the edges there. And where it was like a big glob, I just kind of wipe it off with my baby wipe and go back over it again. I didn't want too much, but just enough to kind of give it an edge and define the base a little bit more in the shape, like that. And if I, you know, if it was too clean, then I kind of mush it up on the edges like that. Kind of spread it out. good. And that looks pretty good. So that's that part. Let me just close this up. And then I take a look at it, and if I wanted more ink, I would go around and add a little bit more ink onto the gesso once it dried. And you want that to dry pretty well before you start putting on, you know, other types of media. Let me put this paintbrush aside. Okay, now let's play with our different mediums here. This one, like I said, this gives kind of a waxy look. Now, this is a pretty thin coat of gesso, and it's pretty well dry now. Oh, I forgot one step. No. We're going ahead. Oh, it's stamping time. That's it. So let's remove this. Sorry about that. I'm not following my cues. And sorry about the arm in front of you there. I need a piece of paper here. A scrap piece of paper. And we're going to stamp a little bit. So get out your ink and your script stamp. This is the script stamp I'm using. And you know what? I wish I could tell you where I got this. Stampendous. It's CRR 221 2014. So, ink up your stamp. And this is another thing I've watched Artie Mays and Tracy Fox and others do. They do it so well. I'm not very great at it, but I usually use second generation, which means I stamp first and then I'll stamp on this, and then I pick the parts that I want on. Like, let's add some of this swirl. That looks pretty cool, and we'll do some swirl up there. That's the problem, it stays on it. It makes your makes it stick sometimes to your whatever you're stamping. I think we need a little more ink up there. Okay. Let's see if we can get it. Oop, that's a little bit too much. Well, we can cover that up with some gesso. And then I want this little postmark. A little bit of that. There. I think that's good. So I'll clean that off later. It stays on ink unless you have a really good cleaner. Clean off your stamp right away or it will stick for good. But I have this new cleaner I got. Here, I'll show it to you. And it has worked really well with my stamps. And it's by Hero Arts, and it's called Ultra Clean. So, well, sorry, it's called Ultra Clean. And it works really well, and it does work well on the stays on. So let's try to tone down some of this stamping. So I get our gesso and our paintbrush back out, and put a little gesso on the side. Get our brush kind of dry, and then just swirl a little over it. Try to tone it down a little bit. work with what you've got. Just keep playing and playing and playing, and you know, working with whatever you got, and you'll finally come around to something that you like. Just takes a little patience. Some heavy blobs in there. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Do a little more around the edge here. That's the problem with these gloves. I get the glove itself and not just my fingers all messed up. So it really helps to have two pairs. But what I did was to make use of the other hand, I turned it wrong side out. And it worked. Worked just fine. Okay. Oh, somebody's awake. I might have to pause this. Yes, somebody woke up. He might come visit. And then we'll have a whole crash and bang and everything's gonna fall over. So I think somebody's hungry and I might have to pause it. Alright, so we got that done. Now we can get out these other waxes to play with. And since I didn't do it to these, I'm going to take one of these that's all dry and just show you different things and how I used them in the project. This, sometimes it shows up, other times it's like, well, what did it do? It didn't do anything. I think it just depends on what kind of paper you're using. Basically, the way you're supposed to use this is you rub it on with your finger and get it all over your piece. And then you're supposed to take a paper towel and kind of buff it off. And the pieces that it works really well with, it gives it kind of a translucent look to it. Sometimes on some of these I would put maybe 2 layers and keep trying, but I think it's because this paper is so thick it doesn't do a whole lot to change the surface look. It just gives it a little bit of a shimmer, or not shimmer, but a little bit of a shine to it. And it did bring out some of that writing in there, the brown writing. And so that's what this does. See, if you rub it on regular paper, let's see what it does. I don't know if it'll do anything. I think you need color to really see it. Yeah. So that's this stuff. And then this metallic, if I can get it open. My hands are a little greasy. There we go. Looks like this. And this you rub on with your finger too. And let's do this one. Let's do a pinkish one. I kind of pat it off on the paper first because I figured I can always build up instead of, but I can't take away. So I try a little bit at first, and I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of shimmers. It's got kind of a metallic look to it. And I often put it around the edges. Rub it around the edges a little bit. And I keep working it until I get it to where I want it. And sometimes I'll rub a little on the inside, but not too much. Give it that little shimmer. Don't know how well you can see that. If it shines, put it on the light. If it shows, I can't exactly see what my camera's doing, so but that's the metallic wax. And then you see how it's kind of dark? It kind of darkened up the piece a little bit. I'll show you. Here's another pinkish one, kind of darkened it. So if you wanted to lighten that up, just put a little bit more gesso on it. I would probably rub the gesso on with my finger, just like this, just to lighten it up if you wanted to. Add a little bit more here. Oops, don't want a huge blob there. Just like that. So you just keep putting on layers and layers until you get the look you want. And then I'll show you what this other one looks like. Let's turn this around the right side. This one is... sorry about that. Can't get it open. I really closed it. But if I had on my fingers, I might be able to get it open. I'm gonna have to pause the video. I'll be right back after I get this open. Okay, I'm back. I'm glad I didn't try to get that open on camera because I really had to pry it with a staple remover. Okay, so this is the Opal Magic by Art Alchemy. So this you put on your finger too, and this is a lot like the metallic stuff, but it's more of a shimmery look than a metallic look. So I gotta put my glove back on, sorry. It's hurting. Alright. And you just rub it on with your fingers. This is one's real light. It's called, I think this color is called Vintage Silk. And then I kind of go over it to get it on the edge. Kind of go like that with my finger. Flick it on the edge a little, like kind of a edge look to it, and then I rub it. Go around and rub it. And put a little rub in the middle, and it's hard to see, but you can. I don't know if you can see that or not. And then put it down in the light. If you can see the shimmer. See that shimmer? So that's that. And I won't close it as tight this time, but I don't want it to dry up either. Okay, so there you have it. We have our bases done, and the next step is the next episode, and that will be putting on the banner across the top. So I'll see you soon in the next episode. Thank you for watching, and please hit the like button, comment, or subscribe. So I will see you. Bye.